Welcome, friends. Thank you for joining us this day in our continuing study of the book of Revelation. So far to this point, we have examined seven, many sevens, but particularly we're interested in the fact that we've studied seven seals. These were those that sealed a book that was in the hand of God, who sitteth upon the throne, chapter 4, and which book none could take an oath except the Lamb of God, who was revealed in chapter 5. And we looked in those bowls of wrath, or the seals rather, and we see how that they spoke of the things that were to come, of the revelation, of the fortunes, the misfortunes that lay before the children of God. Then we've studied already seven trumpets and the warnings that they issued. And then we have come now to our point in the lesson in which that we're going to look at seven bowls of wrath. Some commentators comment that the seven seals are those things that reveal, and the seven trumpets are those that warn. And then the seven bowls of wrath are those that indicate the execution of God's judgment. And as we look at these bowls of wrath, we are looking at judgment. However, we must remind you that we're looking at a book that was written that specified things that must come to pass shortly, the times at hand. And so we're not looking at things that are future, but the things that are past, and are things that were written to comfort those who were being troubled and persecuted nearly 2,500 years ago, persecuted because of their faith and obedience to Jesus Christ. As we look in the 16th chapter of Revelation, for that's where we're going to find these, we find how that these bowls of wrath are revealed to us into what's part of the universe and man that they're poured upon. And as we look at these bowls of wrath, we find that one of the living creatures, of the four living creatures that were around the throne, that is around the throne, that one of those living creatures came out of the temple of God. He had these seven bowls of wrath. And he gave them to seven angels and said, "Go and pour out into the earth." And so they did. And the first angel poured his bowl into the earth. And the record said that it became a grievous and troublesome sore upon those men and women that had the mark of the beast upon them. It was something that troubled them. And then the second angel poured out his bowl of wrath. And it was that was poured upon the ocean, the sea. The sea became blood, and every living creature in that sea died. And then the third, he poured his bowl out upon the rivers and the fountain of water. Men had no water to drink. All they had was blood to drink. And the fourth angel poured out his bowl. And he poured out his bowl upon the sun. And the sun scorched men. Men that were ones that bore the mark of the beast. And these were ones that still blasphemed God, cursed him. Particularly did they rage in their cursings against him because they were scorched by the sun, and they repented not of the works that they'd done. And the fifth angel was told to pour out his bowl, and he did. And he poured out his bowl upon the throne of the beast. And the kingdom was darkened. And the sixth angel poured his bowl out. And it was that as he poured his bowl out, it was upon the throne of the beast and upon the river of Euphrates. And when he threw the sixth bowl out on the river of Euphrates, the record said that the waters in that river were dried up to prepare for the coming from the kings of the east. And these kings of the east came and gathered together war against the beast, the false prophet, and the dragon. And John saw coming out of the dragon and the sea beast and the earth beast spirits of unclean spirits. And there was a great battle. And they battled in a place called Armageddon. And then we look at the last one, and it was on the air. And there were lightnings and thunders and voices and an earthquake. And the announcement, fallen is Babylon. Utterly confusing to most individuals. Ominous. And people search frantically to identify what these are as they refer to people today, to identify them today. But as we've pointed out, we must ever remember that these things were written to comfort the first century church. And it described things that they suffered. And while there may be similar things that arise today and through the ages and generations, the fate of those that are described therein was the fate for those that were persecuting and troubling the saints of God. In our study to this point, we have studied, one, the book of Revelation itself, written to the seven churches of Asia. And we've reminded you from time to time that we are not going to understand the book, even the small understanding that we may attain of it. If we try to make it applicable to things that are present day and that have reference to things that are yet to come. It was written to comfort those Christians, and to those Christians that were involved in the problems that they were involved in were those things that would find no comfort to them and be no comfort to them. It was talking about individuals that lived 2,000 years from their time. It was to comfort them. We've seen, as we note, that there were 7 seals and 7 trumpets, now 7 bowls of wrath. As commentators have observed through the years, the seals reveal, the trumpets warn, the bowls execute God's judgment. So to this point, as we look, we see the seals that reveal the conflict between God and Satan. The first seal, one on a white horse, going forth to conquer and to conquer. The second seal, one on a red horse, take peace from the earth. These are projections of Jesus the Lord as the gospel is preached, and between Satan, who does his best, his very best, to offset and to destroy the cause of Jesus Christ. We see the consequences of that conflict. We see the consequences in which scarcity of foods, things that have to do to make life comfortable, that they're everywhere. And we see the consequence as it is upon the disciples when the fifth seal is opened. And John sees souls underneath the altar, souls that have been beheaded for the cause of the Lord. And they cry out to the Lord, "How long, Lord, will it be that you will avenge our blood?" And they each one were given a crown, a white robe, and told to rest a little while until their fellow brethren should suffer the like consequences and join them. As we look, as we progress through those seals, we see the seals as they indicate the affairs of this life for those that were in the first century and the conflict that they were undergoing. Then we see how that John sees a mighty angel. He has one foot on the sea, one foot on the land, and in his hand is a little book. And this little book is that John is told to take him to eat. It would be sweet in his mouth, bitter in his stomach. And John takes it and eats it. And it is commonly believed that this little book that John ate is that is the residue of the chapters of Revelation, that what we read about from chapters 11 on, or what was contained in that little book. Then we see that there was war in heaven. Michael and his angels going forth to do battle against the devil and his angels, and the devil suffered defeat. He was cast down to the earth, and the voice was heard, "Glory to God, for the Satan and the devil's cast down. Woe to the earth, for the devil is there, and he knows that he has just a little while." And as we look, we find that dragon, the devil, does not wait long in setting about his intent. Chapter 12 opens, and we see a radiant woman. She's arrayed with the sun. Her feet are on the moon. She has a crown of 12 stars. She cries out in pain, for she is with child and about to be delivered, a man-child that will save mankind, rule over the nations. But then again we see a great red dragon. He is one that has 7 heads, 10 horns, has 7 diadems upon his 7 heads. And he stands before the woman. He intends to destroy the man-child, who will be the ruler of all the earth. And the man-child is born, caught up to God. Satan is frustrated. He flees to affect the woman. She's given 2 wings of an eagle. She goes into the wilderness, and there she's protected for times and half a time. Satan needs help. And so when we look in chapter 13, we see the help that he secures. We see a beast that's emerging out of the sea, and this beast that emerges out of the sea looks like a leopard. It has feet like a bear, voice like a lion, and it has all those things. And as we look at this beast, we find that it's a diverse beast. It is a beast that has names of blasphemy. It's given power to rule over the saints of God for 42 months, 1,260 days, time and half a time. And it is that produces great injury, hurt to the people of God. Then John sees again, and the devil now is that sees coming out of the midst of the earth another creature. It is tame looking. Looks like a lamb. Has two horns. But it's got the voice of a dragon. And as we look at this earth beast, it is given power to work signs. And with these signs, it deceives the people of the earth. The signs are not genuine, but they are sufficiently strong enough to deceive those who are willing to be deceived. And as we look at this creature that came out of the earth, we find that it makes all the world worship that first beast. That beast is to have authority over the saints of God for 42 months. And that earth creature not only makes them worship that beast, but he commands and makes them make an image to that beast. And when they make that image, he gives that beast, or that image of that beast, life and power and a voice to speak. And so as we look at this, we find that the earth beast gives to those that are worshipers of that first beast a mark. Can't buy or sell without it. It is of great profit to those that are in it, as far as earth is concerned. And as we look at this earth beast, it is that is called further the false prophet. Then we look, and as we come to the point today, we see these bowls of wrath poured out. And these bowls of wrath are those that had to do with the people in the first century. And as we look at these bowls of wrath, you will find at least 4 of them speak directly as far as that government. First, it talks about those that had the mark of the beast. It talks about the government that was darkened. And then it talks about the fact that the waters of Euphrates are dried up and allows the many nations or the multiple armies of the kings of the east to come and war. We see that. And we see the conflict that's therein. And so as we look, we find mentioned these enemies of God in order: the red dragon, the sea beast, the false prophet, and now another enemy of God's people is announced. For in the last of the bowls of wrath, there is heard a voice from God speaking and saying, for as the city of Babylon is concerned, Babylon is fallen. And so Satan, the beast out of the sea, the earth beast, Babylon, they've all been discussed, except we're going to look at Babylon. The next 2 chapters are going to discuss Babylon and her fall. As we look, we're looking at things that had to do with yesteryear. And we're going to see that the beast out of the sea was prophesied by Daniel. It was the fourth of 4 empires that would occur, but a kingdom that was diverse from the others, more fierce in its opposition to the saints and the people of God. It had reference to the Roman Empire. It had reference not only to the Roman Empire, but it had reference to that arm of the Roman Empire that made the saints of God, if they would compromise, worship Caesar along with God. And then there is Babylon. And the significance of Babylon is that we're going to look at in the next two chapters. Thank you for joining us, studying, and staying with us. We hope you're reading it, but we hope that you're reading not only this, but the whole of the Scriptures to edify yourself and to seek to do and please God. Thank you for joining us. May God bless you and yours.